SSK has long been known as a force in the skydiving and parachuting industry, and so here we're going to talk with Cliff Schmucker about what's happening new at SSK. Cliff, what's going on with SSK these days?
Well, things are busy. We've been, of course, involved with our partner in Germany, AirTech, with the Cypres program for well over 15 years now. We are the Western Hemisphere Service Center for the Cypres. So basically, we do all the service and support for this half of the world, and it's been a great relationship with them, and it's taken SSK to new levels. One of those is now our sister company, SSK Military Industries, which we formed to work with the U.S. Department of Defense in integrating and bringing the military version of the Cypres to our services.
Is there anything new with the Cypres? Anything new happening that we should know about?
It's always a moving target. The R&D never stops with the Cypres. Just in the past year, the sport version of the Cypres 2 has had a number of unique innovations. It now has a jump counter in it, which is especially useful for drop zones with student gear and tandem rigs. You can keep track of the number of flights that the parachuters went on, which is can be useful for tracking, gear, rental gear, this sort of thing. Jumpers that need to do an altitude offset because they're taking off at one airfield and landing in another drop zone now have the convenience of quickly recalling the altitude offset every time they get into the airplane, and just a lot of things to make the system work easier for jumpers.
Great. Well, now I see Cypres over here underwater.
Of course. Well, all Cypres 2 units are water resistant, and with the advent of pond swooping, and of course, people doing water jumps and so on in general. But with the original Cypres, which we now call the Cypres 1, water landings were an issue. We did have a retrofit system that could make it waterproof, but it wasn't exactly rigger friendly. The Cypres 2 now, it comes water resistant integration built in. On the end here you see the filter. That's what allows the air to get into the system, so it can measure air pressure, but it keeps water out. So all the rigger has to do after a water landing, when he's repacking, airing out the reserve, is simply pop out this filter, put in a new one, and you're good to go.
Wonderful. Now, how long can that be underwater?
It's simply a pressure versus time sort of thing. We rate it for 15 minutes at 15 feet, which is longer than most people are good for.
Yeah, I would think so. I can't hold my breath for 15 minutes.
But of course, let's say you ditched your gear and swam in or something, and it was pretty much floating on the surface, like a few feet or less. It'd be good for hours.
Oh, wonderful. So if you're a pond swooper and you dump in and you're under 3 feet of water for a couple of minutes, it's
not an issue at all. Not an issue at all.
Well, people will be glad to hear that.
Good.
Is there anything else new you want to share with people?
Well, I already mentioned about the military versions of the Cypres. Also on our military side, we're continuing our partnership and development of a number of products with both Systems Technology, which is the company that brings the parachute simulator to the marketplace, and also Navocap in France, which brings us a GPS guidance system. And what SSK has done is integrate these systems together to allow a complete package of training, mission rehearsal, and mission planning. So you're able to learn how to use these guidance tools and these systems on the ground before you ever go up in the air and jump them. And it's just one of those things that makes sense. The Air Force has been using flight simulators, for ages now. Why shouldn't, parachutists?
Well, it makes perfect sense. We might as well. That wouldn't work. If it makes sense, you can't do it with the government. Isn't that the accent?
Sometimes.
Well, you've got a very impressive display, so for those of you that aren't here at PIA, you might want to be sure to check out the SSK website, and we'll give you a few views of the overall booth here on PIA TV.
Thank you, Douglas.
Cliff, thanks for spending the time.
All right.